Welcome to the Piapot Future Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Conroy Obi from Piapot First Nation. Today we'll be speaking with Sheri Kaiswatum from the Piapot Nation. She is currently running for council in the 2024 elections. This podcast is designated to create a platform for are designed to create a platform for candidates to introduce themselves to all voters as a way to understand their vision for the community. All candidates who are running for chief will be given 75 minutes. All candidates who are running for councillor will be given 1 hour. We'll be asking 8 to 11 pre-selected questions that have been sent in advance to the candidates. We encourage respectful and constructive comments only. Welcome, Sheri. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Conroy, and good evening to all the band members out there. I really appreciate you having this opportunity to interview the candidates. That's a great platform for everyone in the community. I just want to say I'm Sheri Kaiswatum. I am running for council. I am a mother, grandmother. I am. I have I've I have my education. I guess you could say I've got my business degree in from the First Nations University, and also a certificate program in regards to the hospitality and gaming industry. I have extensive knowledge in the lands management. That's always been an interest of mine ever since I was a young girl. Thanks to my grandparents, I grew up in the valley with my Kokomin and my Mushum, so they taught me a lot about the land and uh, like my my parents and my
Mhm.
uncles were hunters and trappers in the valley on the Quipau River. And I currently reside in the community and been out here for a long time and only moved off to go to school. And yeah, and I currently live out here, so I'm happy to put my name forward in hopes that I could bring my skills and my knowledge so I could help our people heal.
Mm.
I think we're at a time now and such a pivotal time in Indian country, right across Turtle Island, and I think I've been on a healing journey for the last maybe 20 years since I sobered up. My poison was alcohol, and I was a functioning alcoholic. I still went to work, but come the weekend, I really enjoyed my alcohol when I was younger, and then and I realized, looking at my kids, I had to make a change for them. I wanted
Mhm.
better for them, and I wanted better for myself, and so I'm in my 20th year now. So
Congratulations.
yeah, so I'm drug free, alcohol free. I never was really into drugs. It just never appealed to me. I like my booze a little more than that. So once I decided to sober up and for the betterment of my kids and my health, I was so lucky to reach, reach 35, and that age is very important because that's my dad passed away when he was 35, and I honestly thought I wasn't going to make it myself. So once I hit that age, I'm like, hey, I got to make a change, and I made that change. And when you sober up, you realize you really have no friends. And I literally picked up my phone, and it's like, okay, no, it's still working. And ever since then, I've been on a healing journey, and just trying to be a good parent.
Mm.
One thing that I realized I wasn't a very good parent in regards to our traditional ways. So I gave um, tobacco to an elder, and I said, "Help me. I want to be a better parent. I want to be a good parent for my children." So, so as I got more familiar with our ways and going to ceremony, that helped us as a parent, because along my journey, my partner left, right? Because he didn't want to sober up with me, and so so I had to do it alone as a single parent, and I had to, and that was really, hard. And at the same time going to, I decided to go back to university at the same time. And so I struggled, but I had my ceremony, and I had the elder there to help me and guide me. So I'm very thankful for all the teachings that I received. And I'm still, and I'm still learning, and I'm still, and I depend on our elders for, for the guidance when I'm not sure. So, or that I need that extra, question when I have a question, right? So now it's, been, I'm in my 20th year, and not last year, but the year before, I had to get over my shyness, and I had to get courageous. And so
Mhm.
I started dancing. So I started dancing powwow,
Wow.
yeah. So when I was younger, I used to travel with my kokum and my mushum to go to powwows, and she always used to make me dance at Piapot powwow, right? So I was a fancy dancer. And being older now, I think I was like, coming out, I think a couple of was 52, a couple of years ago. And I'm like, could I do it? And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So yeah, so I said, I always loved the fancy dance. So I, throughout my healing journey, also, I started beading, I started sewing, and, just, being busy in that area, like with beading and sewing, because I found that very healing for me also, right? Because the patience and the that gift of creating was very and humbling to me, right? Humbling.
Mhm.
And when I feel troubled, and I'll sit down and I'll start crafting, and getting things done. And and it helps me heal in a way, right? So I'm very thankful for that. And so I got out there, and it's really, it's really hard. Actually, it was really hard, and physically. But as the summer went on, I got stronger and stronger. And in that traveling with my family, and meeting new friends on the power trail, the sense of community there. And like my kids, I brought them up in the circle, so they have a powwow mom, right? So I know they're okay with when sometimes, because I just have to drop them off at the powwow, and their powwow mom's there. So it's a sense of community. And uh, out on the powwow trail. So so now every summer, since I sobered up, I felt lost. First of all, I was like, what do I do? What's the purpose of life? Um, and I got connected with our culture and our ways, right? So that was very important to me. And I'm glad it changed my life. It changed my life around. And I'm so thankful for our teachings. And I feel that, moving forward, this is what we have to bring to our people too, is
Mhm.
our
I agree.
is our ways, right? Because that's who we are, that's our identity. And then I start, after that I start looking at, the legislation, right? Start reading the Indian Act. And I was actually always, interested in the lands. And I think when treaty lands started happening in the 90s, I was like, wow, this is an historical moment. This is big, so I got, always watched the news, right? And because Oka was happening at that time too. So back then it was very, inspirational for me, right? And getting to know the issues down in Oka, and then over here in Saskatchewan, negotiating for all of that. So for our lands, and so in our treaty, right? So I end up taking a land management course. So when the bands would have to be buying these lands, so they needed someone in the community, for capacity development to manage these lands. So I went to school with, I think, about 31 of us,
Mm-hmm.
and from all over Saskatchewan that had TLE. And at the end of it, I think at the end of it, only 12 of us actually finished that course, because it was quite intense. And you learn everything from forestry, which I really loved, because you got to go up and actually out on the land up north, and learn about all those different kind of trees. And I really enjoyed that. So then when the job came opening up here at the band, and I applied, and I got the job. So I was very happy about that. And I worked for 6 years under three different chiefs. So in managing our lands. So
That's
that's
great.
yeah. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. But there's so much more I could go on. But um, that's kind of me in a nutshell right now.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for giving us that bio. And
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say, like, it's a reoccurring story that we hear from our leaders and from people that have really strived for success,
Yeah.
is that sobriety is one of the key factors.
It totally is. Like,
Yeah.
there's, when you're going to run for leadership, you have to, right now, when we're in time of reconciliation and
Mm-hmm.
truth finding, right, and trying to break those generational traumas, and
Yes.
making a change. This is a major way we can help our families and ourselves to do that, to be sober.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to know, like, that our culture, our traditions, and our ways is one of the things that empowers us to step away from that life that is very toxic and detrimental to
Mm-hmm.
us. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to congratulate you on all of your successes, your educational successes, your successes with your children, your successes
Yeah.
with dancing,
Right.
um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and your sobriety as well.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the questions. So, um, what was the big push that inspired you to decide that it's time to run for council? I know you have to be nominated, but outside of that, what was the big decision maker for you?
I think it was the people that, I always aspired to it from my late uncle. He was involved he was a band council, plus my kokum, right? Because I remember her, we'd walk to the band office because she had something to say, or something to do at the band office. And I remember, as a little girl, walking with her to the band office, and then seeing my late uncle, at the band office too. So it started at a very young age for me, because I I I loved my relatives, my kukum and my uncle, and I wanted to be like them. I aspired to be with them, and I looked up to them. So those were my biggest motivators,
Mm.
but also, with the people, because I was always involved with the band elections, and when in some capacity, whether I was a scrutineer, I was also um, also, I was always a scrutineer for somebody, for a candidate, and then the last two elections, I was their campaign manager. So, but also I was also volunteered with the federal elections and
Oh,
the municipal elections, right?
okay.
So, yeah, so so in my younger days, right? So that's where I volunteered to, because you got to be all different levels, right? Because we're in every kind of election, and actually with the provincial too, um, that I no, not the provincial. It was the municipal and the federal. Sorry, I was. But yeah, so I was always involved in some kind of way, and interested in the politics.
Okay.
So
So you'd say like this is something you always knew you were gonna do.
yes, and I think yes, exactly. And each time, I'm like, no, because they were going to nominate me. I think a couple, two elections ago, but I was like, no, I just didn't feel it was right at that time, right? So I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay helping in the background, and in whatever capacity, so um but this year, it was time to you know to step out,
Mm.
since COVID. I think COVID really changed a lot in me, and made me, realize that, once I was looking at the audits, and I was like, wow, what is going on here? Because the audits tell a story, right? And for me, that it said a story, and I followed that, and I wanted to know more, because there was missing information from myself that motivated me, because I looked at the audits from 2014 up to the current, right? And you could tell, each year, or things were going on, and then you look in the community, and it's like, there was so much uh, things that could be done better, and that's where I'm at. It's like, what I could.
What's going on here? We are just having a little bit of technical difficulties. Please give us one moment. Hello, Sherry. Can you hear me? One moment, please. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. Connected. Yeah, connected. Hello. Hello. What is going on here? Why can't I hear you? Very frustrating. Okay, let's see here. Unmute, mute, unmute. Caution, mute, unmute. Okay, what is happening here? I can't seem to hear you, so I'm going to switch something here. Okay, sorry about that. We had a technical difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the storm
Glad we're
clouds and the
back.
internet.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So where we left off is you were speaking about looking at the audits, and that was something that inspired you to look deeper.
Right, exactly. So then looking at that and talking with people and hearing their concerns. So I thought, okay, it's time for me to step up, and I've learned a lot, and I've worked for with a lot of our people. So I said, okay, it's time now, and so now here I am, and I'm ready to take on the challenge, and be the voice for the people.
Yes.
So yeah, so.
Okay. Thank you for that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like you kind of went over it a little bit in the bio, but I guess we'll get a little bit more details. Um, what experience do you have that makes you well suited for position of counselor?
Well, I've got a lot of experience with my, previous, like I said before, but I understand the politics. I understand the governance. I understand the legislation. I do a lot of my own research and my own learning in different areas. So I bring my own lived experience too, right? And dealing with the systems that govern us, and I bring those to the table because you know we could always do better,
Mm-hmm.
and now is the time when the government talks about reconciliation, but I think we need to do that within our own community also, is for
Yes.
truth and reconciliation, right?
Yes.
So we got to begin within our own community and start that healing and start that truth talking, and having that with our culture, because it's our culture that's gonna help us, and it's gonna you know um, build us up, and because that's our identity, and Chief Piapot is one of my motivators, right? Because he resisted you
Mm,
know the railroad, right? He resisted colonization, and he wanted to preserve our Cree ways, right? And he ended up going to jail because he had a ceremony, right? So that right there is motivation, and that system then still exists today. you know and that we need to
I
start
agree.
breaking down those barriers. We need to start making that change, because we're still oppressed. We're still Indian Act, and and we gotta we gotta change that now. We gotta change the narrative for our people, because Chief Pipot, he wanted us to preserve our ways, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to do also. I want to emulate that way also, right? And make sure that that the treaties are honored, that and that that our inherent governance is implemented uh, uh, to help us, because right now this current system doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for us, and it's that's why we have so much people in jails. That's why we have our kids being apprehended. you know the system is broken, and a lot of our people are falling through that gap, those gaps, right? And those are the people we need to look after also, right? And find them and make sure where we know who they are in our community, where they are, and just trying to find that support for them, and so there's a lot of work there to get done. And can it be done in 4 years? Like, when we look at the work that needs to get done. But I said, we can accomplish a lot in 4 years. So like, I don't want to talk about the problems because we already know, right? We're already over reported. Canada knows that. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is I want to talk about the solutions with the people. Okay, we know the issues, but let's talk about the solutions. And the solutions are going to come from within our community, right? So that's where we are. That's what's going to bring the culture, the history, and everything is going to come from the people, right? The people themselves. And for me, I'm just going to be the advocate. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be the advocate, so that,
Mm-hmm.
and the voice for the people, so we can find the solutions within our community that I could bring forward, that encompasses all our interests, and that we change the status quo, because the
Yes.
status quo is not acceptable to me. I'm like, that's why I'm like, we could do better. I could do better, right? So that's for me. When I look at our community, I all the answers are going to come from the people. And by talking and creating a safe space for our people to hear everyone, to not leave anybody out. That's very important, because that's our culture, right? We took care of everyone. We make sure everyone has a voice, and they're concerned. So with that, it's the people first, and we are the ones to get us to find that path to a better way, and not accept the status quo.
Yes, I like a lot what you said. You know, in my experiences in life, I find that great leaders are people that are solution oriented.
Right.
Because there is the whole point of looking at a problem, but if you sit too long looking at the problem, you got to come
Yeah.
up with some solutions, because that's what the people need. They need
Yeah.
solutions, and so I
Right.
think that's really great to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now, how familiar are you with the history, culture, and traditions of our nation?
Oh, I'm very
Well versed.
well versed, but like I say, you're always learning, right? You're
Yeah,
always learning,
yeah.
so there's always um improving, and and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm always looking to, and hearing other people, and there's always room for improvement. And like I said, you learn something every day, or at least I try to live by that, right? Whether I'm reading a book and or watching the news, I pick up something. I'm like, okay, I never, that's an interesting, a concept, or perception, right? So I'm very well versed, because then even within my own family, I'm looking back within our own
Mm-hmm. I'm sure
history.
there's great history.
Yes, making those connections and realizing, going right back to treaty. I'm working with my family on filling everything, the gaps up, because my families, some of them are buried at my my great grandfather out at Kanukamau beach there. So and
Oh.
for me, like in our family, we have those knowledge keepers. So for me, I go to my cousin Dina, or my cousin Denise, because or my sister Eileen, because they have this knack of remembering everything, right? They know names. And so for me, that's who I go to within my own family, because they have that gift that I'm gifted with something else, right? But we're all gifted with something, but it's the women that are in our family that when we work together, we're putting our history together, right? So, and for
Mm-hmm.
me, I do a lot of the research, right? So I'm looking, and then I share it with them, and and then they put the pieces together, and all of that. So for me within my family, I understand my family roots, and then my community, with studying Chief Piapot, and that's one way that I feel he was unjustly deemed by the government. They what did they deem him, a rebel
Mm.
for standing up for his ways, right? And that's where we need to like what they did with Poundmaker. We got to do the same over here, for Chief Pipeot. We want his name cleared, because he was, that was a form of a form of racism, and a form of oppression of our ways, for
Yes.
for us for him to have a ceremony. He was villainized for that. So we need to correct the wrongs, and that's where the truth begins, right? So for me, that's one of my when I get into council, that's what I want to do too. I want to work with the people and the family and the community to make sure that he's honored, as a great warrior, as he was, as a spiritual leader,
Mm-hmm.
and as a chief of our community. And right now the government, has him as a rebel. And to me, that is so wrong, and we need to fix that wrong in order for us to start healing too. So we got to hold the government accountable for that, and make that change, and to honor our past, our past chief.
Yes, and that's great history. Like I didn't realize that's the way he was categorized.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's quite interesting.
I know it's a sad history, uh, but that was the mentality of our government, right? So of the past government. So
Yeah.
so that needs to change.
Yeah, I still don't like him. This
Yeah.
government, the same.
Right. Well, yeah, right, because they're still implementing
Yes, we're still
the
under oppression, our people.
right. Yep.
Hmm. So do you currently live? You live on a reserve, or you live in Regina?
I live in the community. Yeah, I live on the
Okay.
res girl.
Okay. So based on your experiences, and it's nice to know that you're heavily involved in the community. What do you believe are the most pressing issues that our people are facing there?
I think inclusion, like where we're not included as a collective. Before we used to have band meetings, and when you go to the band office, it's like you ask what you're there for, and prior, we used to, people used to just come in and sit down, have a coffee. There's no sense of community. Like it's so kind of uh,
So would you say currently it's like a silos,
yes,
kind of like
everybody's kind of in their, yes,
separated?
yeah,
Yeah,
division, that and we need to get back to who we are, right? And remember
mm,
who we are as a
I agree.
people. And that means inclusion, a collective inclusion for everyone. But also the other thing too is our flood claims, and our, because we got five of them on the go, and we don't know what's going on, like, okay, because what's happening with our flood claim, like we don't know. And then with our cows and plows, how is our treaty being affected? Because we hear it on, everywhere, that it's gonna take away our treaty. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not, those treaty discussions are not happening in our community, right? So we need to bring the elders together, and everyone together to talk about our treaties and really understand what is going on right now, so that we know that we're not going to sign our treaties away. So that right there to me is very pressing, because and like everyone, yeah, the money's, yeah, everybody wants a payout, and I understand that. But right, for me, being a history and all of that, I want the research. Like, how come we don't have access to the research, so we know what happened or who was interviewed, what's the story about our lands, and in our history? To me, that is very key to us, right? We need that history. We need to learn and educate ourselves also, right? And putting that all together, uh, uh, and keeping our history, so that we can hand it down to the next generation, right? Because we need to know these family connections, and making sure that our history is preserved within our own community, and
Yeah.
not, and not online, googling stuff. We got to have our own, that's got to be our backbone, right, of our how we conduct ourselves moving forward, in understanding, our past, and making sure that it's carried on into the future. So
I like that.
yeah.
I think
So
that's important.
oh, it's very,
So.
it's very important, especially when the government is we have to always have to prove ourselves, right?
Mm.
Like, that's one thing, like within in the judicial system, like we always have to assert our rights, right? So all that needs to be documented, and archived with our nation, and shared with the people, right? So that's what I want to do too, is make sure that history is preserved, and also shared with everyone. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is, how will you ensure, and everybody always wants to hear about this one, how will you ensure transparency and accountability in your role if elected? So,
Well,
yes.
that's yeah. Well, one thing is you have band membership meetings. I remember being a staff member. I had to report to the people to tell them what I was doing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
somewhere down the line that stopped now, right? Because the employee had to report, and the leadership had to report, right? So and they both work hand in hand, right? Because if because when I was in lands, I had a lands counselor or board, so I reported to them, and I had to do I also report to the people, right? So we put out quarterly, we put out reports, and report to the people every year, as whether you're a staff member or a band council. And for me, now, like that's got to be done to me quarterly, right? And making sure
Mm-hmm.
where people are aware, because right now we don't know a lot of things, what's going on with our bands, like with our flood claim. Like, we don't know what's the issue, why is it taking so long? Like, what's the legal issue, that's preventing us from getting that settled? We don't know that, right? So for me, it's those need to be brought out, and this way, for transparency, that's what we need, is the information, the facts, and bringing in people who would help us, educate us too, right? And if because we don't we don't know it all, and there's experts out there that can help us and guide us to to see, okay, what the government may not say, okay, well, that we can kind of navigate or counter the government with our own history and with our own knowledge with other nations, right, to see
Hmm.
what they're doing. Well, how come, how did they settle this, and maybe we could use that in our case or whatever, eh? But those discussions are not happening, and I think we need to as an elected leader, like I think that's very important, that I be able to talk about my programs and making sure that the people know what's eligible, what expenses are eligible under ISK funding, because that's we need to be able to speak on those programs, right? And what services are included, right? So I think understanding your portfolios, right, and given those portfolio reports, part of my being accountable and transparent is when I created my Facebook page, right, called Piapot Governance, and part of that was to learn, for me to help educate people in the different areas, right, and learn from other people too, right, and that's why I created that, so it could be transparent, so people know the issues, and because everybody needs to be heard. Everybody needs
Yes.
to be, that's so important. We got to listen to everyone. For me, that's where I'm coming from. Everyone matters, and for me, it's about just doing what I like talking, and I like reporting, and I like, here's the facts, here it is, and here's the history, and there's nothing wrong with sharing all of that information at all, for me. So
Yeah, and I think access to information, because a
mm-hmm.
lot of times people from the outside were left with our own ideas,
Yeah,
and if there is access to information, then if we have some thoughts about certain things or certain situations,
yeah,
then we can actually just go and find out if it's true or not. And I think
yeah,
that's really helpful.
yeah,
Now, would you be asking if you were elected, would you be asking for, I think our constitution is what they call it,
yeah.
for that to be ratified or completed? Because as far as I know, it hasn't been completed. But like I said, I'm just an urban Indian.
Yeah. Yeah, that well, no, you know what, that's doesn't matter where you live. I think we need to, that's right there, that's need to stop, because when you say you're an urban, this again, we're creating division, right? And
No, you're right. You're right.
no, we're one nation, we're all a
Thank
people,
you.
right? And we all matter, right? And that right there needs, I'm a band member too, right? Don't matter where we live, and we all should have that equal opportunity, right? So unfortunately, yeah, you do live over there, but it doesn't take, it shouldn't take away from your inclusion, right?
Hmm.
It's just geography, the way I see it. But to our constitution, again, that's something we'll have to go back to the people, right? The people will be the ones, right, to determine that, because who requires this constitution, is what I think about, and what concept, and where does that concept come from, you
Oh,
know
you know what? Yeah.
you
Is
know
it a more colonial concept?
Exactly, right, and who's pushing this, and what for, what's the agenda? So those are the questions we need to talk about, right? Because what purpose is this serving for, and who's it serving, right? So that would probably be for the government, right? Because again, they to put us into a colonial government, like a municipality, right? You got to
That
have
would be
this. You got to,
horrible.
yeah. So that's the thing we need to look at and talk about more, right? And that's why we bring in people from different areas to come and speak to us and and enlighten us on the complex issues and in what that constitution is going to serve and who, right? So that would be my um I'd have to understand it like that, because in our way, in our inherent ways, we have our own governance systems, right?
Hmm.
So so is it going to replace that, or is it going to add to it? That's one thing we will have to, as a collective,
Yeah, I
determine
think that's
determine that.
yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Me sitting from the outside, because I always ask the question like, how are rules enforced, right?
Hmm.
And with my limited knowledge, I thought that a constitution would help to create rules and regulations and policies that would help to enforce more accountability, and also like some sort of you know someone can get, how do I say this, not punished, but have consequences for their actions.
Right.
So
And that goes to our teachings, right? Our teachings. So right in there, that's basically with our in our elders, right? So we already have that established.
mm,
Right. So to deal with that, but uh, we just don't have a leadership that is taking that approach, right? They're walking us down this colonial road of assimilation, because they're signing on, they're opting out of the Indian Act, but they're opting into more federal legislation and forgetting our own ways, so from the Indian Act into more, you know, the First Nations Election Act, into the, you know, financial administrative law, like, there it's just more government legislation. So and right, and that's never worked for us. Like, look at our look at the social issues that are happening in our community and the economic issues, right? It doesn't really work for us.
I agree, and it's so hard because like someone as such as myself, um, I'm been learning more about our traditions in the past
Mm-hmm.
5 years, but I
Yeah.
have so much to learn because I didn't grow up on the res.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
funny enough, there's 12-year-old boys that know way more about our traditions than I do to be
Mm-hmm.
teaching me because they grew
Yep.
up like that. So
Exactly.
made an effort to go home more in the past 5 years to really reconnect with our culture, and it's been great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes. So, um, so us who are living off the nation in different provinces and countries, some of us are in different countries.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow.
how do you plan to like engage and educate, like not only the nation members on the nation, but also off the nation? Like, how do you help us to have more inclusion, for us to learn more, not only about what's happening with the band, just what's happening with our nation?
Um, one thing
Oh,
that, I see it, like we're a government, right? And
mhm.
we have social media, and one of my ideas when I look at that, is, what the government, what Canada does, and what I've seen in different websites from different nations, is that they have yeah, a tool there for staff. They right on their webpage, and they have a tool in there for, for band members, right? I think we can expand our social, or the website, that that could be, because we need to know where all our band members are. And if you go on the Piapot webpage and you have a band member link, right? And you log on, you put your IDs and all of that in
Yeah.
there, and address, and there, we can, provide the services or the minutes or whatever, right? Or
Yeah.
some way that there's got to be a way to do that online, right? And
Hmm.
how, how Service Canada has there, and you go in CRA,
Yeah.
or you go into another my service, right? And you can do different things. And I think that's what we could do with our website too. That there we post stuff in there. We make sure that it's updated. Calendars, and getting people connected to their community so that you can go and update your own address, right? So we're not, say Christmas coming along, you're going to get a payout,
Yeah.
you know log on, update your information, and then it's there, right? So that's one way of trying to connect with everybody. But just like this too, like with you, like that, maybe, I was thinking about your podcast, and that we continue these podcasts as leaders down the way, right?
Hmm.
That we talk about the programs, and you create some kind of platform for leadership, that we talk about different issues so that we can connect with everyone, right? That wants to come on, and they can provide some feedback in a good way, right? And making sure that
Yes.
that we hear, you got to take the good and the bad, and that we utilize, these kind of services, because, to connect, because look at this is awesome. You're over there and I'm here, right? So,
Yeah.
and we're going to connect with a lot of other band members. So doing things like this, it's using technology, right? And sometimes, we're going to have to bring everybody home for whatever occasion, right? Sometimes, we'll have to bring them home to do, our treaty days, or
Yeah.
or whatever, right? So I think as a leader, that we support our people too, if they want to come for treaty day, or we're going to have, so that we could talk about our history, or have these community events, then we support our band members, and bring them home, right? So we can
Yeah.
hear them, right?
Because
So that,
I've always, oh, sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. Um, I've always felt like, as an urban band member, uh, there's always this disconnect,
Mm-hmm.
like basically the council's like way over there, kind of high on the mountain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would be nice that if there was more presence online for us to ask questions,
Yeah.
or to get to know them, and learn what's going on, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
when you hear everything secondhand, it's really difficult to know what is
Right.
actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to have access to that information, so I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the next one, I understand in capacity for counselor, there's a lot of advising the chief
Mm-hmm.
on economic decisions.
Yeah.
Um, so, what steps or what kind of advice would you be presenting to the new chief if you were elected, or the current chief, whoever wins? Um, what steps would you be like? Not steps. What ideas would you be promoting for economic development and just improving the quality of life? Oh my, what's going on here? No. Okay. Sorry, we're having internet disruptions. Yes. So, what steps would you take to promote economic development and improve the quality of life for the community members? And I understand a lot of those decisions would be up to the chief, but how would you be encouraging, leadership to do better, or what kind of ideas would you give them?
Well, I just want to back up there, because you said the chief will decide. I think as a chief and council, we should be deciding, right? Not, you know, just the chief, right? So as a collective, we should be deciding as a chief and council on the direction we take. Because what's if it's just going to be the chief? What's the sense of having council, right?
No,
So,
I understand. But my research that I've been doing on how things have been working, um, I was told that, the councillors, they do essentially work for the chief, but the chief has a lot of the decision making power. Was that
oh,
correct?
uh, no, no, we it that's no, we're the chief is um an ex officio, right? Say the council it's split, then the chief will be the one to decide, you know, which direction, right? So,
Yeah.
but the chief is not the be all and the end all, right? We work together as a collective in council. Um, uh, but that's new to me. But
Okay.
so going back to the economic development, so right now when I look at the audits and I see our social development, right,
Hmm.
it's just increased year after year after year, and right now our funding's at its all-time highest at almost $3 million. So I think you gotta, to me, I would look there first and figure out, okay, who are what's the demographics here, who's ready to work, what's the barriers, right? And how could we help our people get over those barriers to get them
Hmm.
into get them job ready, right? And looking at our because our people are going to be our biggest strength, right? And it's our people that are going to be our workforce, right? Because I want to employ, everyone. I want to make sure everybody has jobs, how in whatever area that they that we can accommodate, that we try to work to make sure that there's jobs for everyone, right? Not just
Hmm.
a few, right? That we create a community with and partner with other industry or with government or whoever to make sure that we get those programs in to help and get our skills and our people build their capacity up, but also build up our capacity that we should be looking within, if we have somebody that's an excellent in an area, say like somebody wants to be a podcaster, then we hire our own people to train our own people, right?
Yeah.
And utilize our own skills within our own people, and that there's jobs right now that are as band members we don't have access to, and a lot of non-band members are working, right? So I want to, the priorities are our own people first. They should be the ones getting the jobs, right? And and I cut in for me, and if somebody messes up, it's okay. Come back, get your stuff together, come back and do it again. Because right now it's like, oh, you messed up, doom, you're out, right? And that's not really helping our people if we're
What the heck is going on here? Okay, once again, sorry about the technical
okay.
difficulties. Um, the last question of the night will be: how will you help to create an environment that will foster healing and unity in our nation?
um how for healing, I think we need to look at our elders, utilize our elders, connect with our elders, sit with our elders, and be able to support our people who want to go to ceremony. But you know um, for healing, when we look at that, that's a for knowing the issues of what what's what is going on in the community or with individuals for their trauma, right? When you look at
Hmm.
addictions, and be able to put the supports there,
Yes.
or look for them, right? And give people that opportunity. Say if they want to quit drinking, we have a facility, or identify one that we can get our people to, because a lot of it comes from residential school, right? And that
Yes.
past trauma, it's been passed on, and I see so much of our people who are hurt, and broken families, and so we have to create those spaces for them, and be able to listen to them, and see what it is that they need to get that help, you know whether it's in whatever issue that I think right now we have a lot of drugs in our community, and alcohol, right? So
Hmm.
dealing with those, that's one of the major, I think, that's hurting our community, right? Is the addiction. So I think we need to focus on providing those supports and those services for our people, and having a men's group, a women's group, and
Yes.
and
I
and and
love that
here,
idea.
hearing stories of our own people who survived their addictions, right? So
Yeah.
and letting people share their stories, that yes, you can make a change, right? And if it takes you 10 times, so be it, right? We're still going to support you, because you know you're going to wait, somebody, they're going to wake up and realize, okay, I got to make a change now, right? And we have to be there at that time to help them, when it's their time. So I think, by creating a community where there's supports for our people is very important, because right now people, there's, for our youth groups, and
Yeah.
our culture camps, I think we need to have those, and more, culturally based um, programs, right? And services, and activities, that focus on there, like with Treaty Day, it was pretty sad Treaty Day, and there could be, in the community, when I think there could be so much more done to promote our people, and at that time in treaty, right? And to talk about treaty, and to have the documents there for treaty, so people understand our own history, right? Because if
Hmm.
we don't know where we came from, then we're just lost, right?
Yes.
And we got to be grounded, right? We got to get our people grounded in our history, and lots can be done. There's so much, and a lot of that will come from the people, right? They'll be like, okay, well, we'll take direction from the people, right? Because they're the bosses, so to speak, right? Sometimes it's upside down, where chief and council think they're the bosses, right? And they're the ones, right? But that's not, that's colonial stuff, right? We got to go back to listening to our people, and we work for them, as if, should
Hmm.
I get elected, right? And people need to know that I will work for you, I will advocate for you. So I think that's one thing that we as leadership need to do.
I like how passionate you are about really reiterating how important it is to hear the voices of the people. Um,
Hmm.
I think that's
Yeah,
that's a good sign of great leadership potential, and also like it
thank you.
shows where you've been and how you've been operating.
Right.
So I think that's excellent. And
Hmm.
so with the last 2 minutes, would you like to do like a campaign pitch?
Yes, I would. For all the band members out there, that wherever you are, I ask for your support to vote for me on July 3rd. Like I said, I'm educated. I got a business degree, and I got lived experience also. But one of my things I also like to, I hold more highly than my education is my own connection and with my culture and my history.
Mm.
That's the education that I value the most, because it's helped me so much with my family, and to help me overcome, my addiction to alcohol, right? So it's enriched my life, and that I could see helping our community too, and helping our people. And we all need to we all need those supports. And as leadership in our community, I ask for your support, because I'll be that voice, I'll be that advocate. I will, I will be that person that listens to you. I will answer your call. I will answer your text. I think that's one of our biggest things. I'll answer your emails, because when you're not, when you send an email out or nothing, and you get no response, it's that's not good leadership, right?
Yeah.
That's not good leadership at all. So I want to be responsive to the people. I'm going to be responsive, and I want to work for the people and with the people. So, that I can advocate for better services, for more services, for what we need, not just what the government is giving us, and saying, "Oh, here, you only get this," when our need is way different, right? So that's where I'll come in and advocate to say, no, our people, this is good, but the reality is this: we need more supports in these different areas, right? And so I ask that the community, or the band members, I will put you first, and I will work for you, and I hope you support me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Once again,
thank you.
congratulations for being elected and all your achievements. So we'll be posting this, and please, yeah, when you come to Calgary, please let me know. I'd like to visit with
Yes,
you.
for sure, Conroy, and I appreciate you providing this platform for everyone.
Yes. And as usual, folks, please remember, be kind, love one another, because we're all related in some way. And voting season will be over. So if you're out there being ugly, settle down. Oh. Okay, bye.
Good. Okay, bye. Good night.
Good night.